You ever feel like you're running on a treadmill that's just going a little too fast? Like you're being pulled in a dozen different directions all at once? Well, let's get into it, because today we're pulling back the curtain on the hidden forces behind all that modern stress and figuring out why so many of us feel completely and utterly overwhelmed.
It's a question that feels super personal, right? But it's one that millions of us are asking. This isn't just a you thing, it's a shared experience. So what is really going on? Turns out the answer lies in a few powerful pressures that are all converging at once in our modern lives. Okay, let's start with work. A staggering 67%, that's two-thirds of American workers say they're experiencing burnout. Just let that sink in. The majority of the workforce feels exhausted, cynical, and just plain unmotivated. This isn't some small issue, it's practically an epidemic. And that pressure? It definitely doesn't stop when we clock out. Beyond our jobs, more than half of all Americans feel negative emotions. We're talking fear, anger, anxiety when they just think about climate change. This shows the stress isn't just coming from inside our own heads, it's coming from the world around us too. So when you start putting all these pieces together, a pretty clear picture emerges. We are living in what you could really only call an age of anxiety, where all our individual stress is compounding into this huge collective strain on society. And here's the most important thing to remember. If you feel overwhelmed, it is not just you. This isn't some kind of personal failure. The data confirms loud and clear that this is a widespread, shared experience, and it's hitting certain generations especially hard. So let's break down the first major force behind this feeling. First up, the workplace grind. You know, that always-on, high-pressure, high-expectation culture of modern work. Well, it's created what people are now calling the burnout generation. And the numbers, they're pretty eye-opening. Now, what's really fascinating here is who is feeling this the most. See, while the overall number is already high at 67%, it jumps to 72% for Gen Z and a whopping 77% for millennials. The youngest people in the workforce are shouldering the heaviest part of this burden. And this slide, wow, this really spells out the generational divide. Get this. 84% of baby boomers rate their personal well-being as above average. But for Gen Z and millennials, it's less than half. And this isn't just about different attitudes. This is often rooted in completely different economic realities, like trying to navigate student debt or a brutal housing market. The younger you are, the more likely you feel like you're just treading water. So where is all this pressure coming from? Well, here's a wild paradox for you. A massive 80% of managers, the people who are actually supposed to implement the company culture, they report burnout. But the executives at the very top, the ones setting the tone, just 18%. That reveals this huge blind spot where the people on the front lines are completely exhausted and the leadership seems to have no idea. Okay, so that's force number one. Now let's look at the second one, because it's not just our jobs. We're also carrying the heavy weight of these huge global issues, everything from the health of our planet to the state of our politics. This chart really nails the emotional toll of it all. More than 1 in 4 Americans feel very anxious, fearful, or angry about climate change. This isn't some far-off abstract concern. It's a real, present-day source of major emotional distress for a lot of people. And the weight of the world goes beyond just the environment. The intense political division we're all seeing, it's not just something you read about in the headlines. It's actually having a measurable physical impact on our health. Yeah, research has found a direct link. It's a pretty simple two-step process, really. The more politically distant and isolated you feel from the people around you, the more likely you are to actually experience poor physical health. This could be from things like social isolation or just the chronic stress of feeling like you don't belong in your own community. It's a really worrying connection between our social world and our actual bodies. And here's the number that proves it. On average, people who feel the most politically out of step with their communities have an extra 2.07 days of poor physical health every single month. You do the math, that's almost 25 extra sick days a year, just from the stress of political polarization. It's incredible. Okay, so we've got the workplace grind and the weight of the world. Now let's turn to our third force, the one that's woven into pretty much every moment of our lives, the digital world. It promises us connection, but boy, does it often deliver its own unique, complex layer of stress. You see, social media is a total paradox. On one hand, yeah, it connects us, it helps us find support. But on the other hand, the risks are huge.
cyberbullying, that constant social comparison game, mental distress, and a big one we don't talk about enough, just terrible sleep. And the stakes here are so high, especially for young people. I mean, just listen to this quote from the National Institutes of Health. It's chilling. They found a direct link between smartphone use in teenagers and an increase in mental distress, self-harming behaviors, and even suicidality. And this gets right to the heart of how our digital lives are physically messing with us. Look at this data on teens. 36%, more than a third, say they actually wake up in the middle of the night just to check their devices. And 40% are staring at a screen within 5 minutes of trying to go to sleep. This constant disruption to our sleep is a massive risk factor for all sorts of mental health issues. Okay, so we've laid out a pretty intense combination of pressures, right? The workplace, the world, our digital lives. It's a lot. But it's not all doom and gloom. The story doesn't end there. Research also points to these powerful buffers that we can build to counteract all this overload.
So what actually works? Well, the data points to a few key things. First, remote work and just having more flexibility. It turns out that having more control over your schedule is a powerful antidote to burnout. Second, volunteering. Finding a way to engage with a purpose outside of your job has been shown to seriously boost your well-being. And finally, and this one is so important, cultivating in-person support. Real-world connections, they're just a far better shield against distress than online ones. Making time for friends and family isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. And that leaves us with one last question to chew on. In a world that is defined by all these compounding pressures, what does it even mean to be well anymore? Maybe it's not about trying to eliminate stress entirely, because good luck with that. Maybe it's about consciously building these buffers and redefining what success looks like on our own terms.